Hola chicos, esta es la introducción a la semana número 11, que ya hemos cumplido muchas semanas de trabajo, pero tenemos mucho más que hacer. Entonces, os voy a hablar un poco de esta semana, de las tareas y la información del libro y unas otras cosas que tienen que ver con el programa de español, ¿sí? Entonces, primero, os quiero hablar un poco del trabajo. Entonces, a ver, déjame hacer eso y compartir con... No, eso no es lo que quiero. Quiero esto, ¿sí? Entonces, la semana pasada, era una semana del pretérito, ¿sí? So last week you had the preterite and all the conjugations, ¿sí? Entonces, esta semana tenemos el imperfecto. Vamos a enfocarnos en el imperfecto. Las conjugaciones del imperfecto son muy fáciles en comparación con el pretérito. El pretérito es muy complicado y hay muchas formas que se tiene que memorizar, ¿sí? En comparación, el imperfecto es bastante fácil. Entonces, en el libro hay una explicación de los tiempos y de las conjugaciones, ¿sí? Es muy importante aprender el imperfecto bien, pero también continuar con el pretérito, ¿sí? Porque en la próxima sección del libro, la próxima sección que tenemos es, a ver, es eso. Entonces, en la próxima sección del libro tenemos una comparación entre pretérito y imperfecto. Y eso sí es muy complicado y difícil, ¿sí? Entonces, es muy importante memorizar las conjugaciones del pretérito imperfecto, ¿sí? Para hacerlo un poco más fácil. También esta semana tenéis una cinemateca, una de las películas cortas para mirar, ¿sí? Otra cosa que quería mencionar es que bajo la tarea, a ver dónde está. Entonces, en el módulo de semana número 11, que todavía tengo que ponerlo, entonces tenemos eso, la tarea de Zoom, de la conversación. Es un poco diferente porque no hay nada en el libro. Entonces, toda la actividad está aquí, no está en el libro, ¿sí? Entonces, no tenemos actividades en el libro para la conversación. Entonces, os voy a hablar un poco de eso en inglés, ¿sí? So your Zoom chat, there's no part in the book this time. It's only what is here. It's not really long. And really with all of the weeks, what you get done is what you get done. The important thing is that you are practicing the vocabulary, practicing the grammar, sharing ideas with your group. So don't get frustrated if your group is not able to finish. Like if you look at the amount of activities that I have and you're thinking there's no way my group can get through every single one of these activities in a half an hour, that's okay. Because we have different sizes of groups. Some weeks we have some groups that have 5 people and we have other groups that have 2. So no matter what, a group of 5, it's going to take them longer to get through the material than a group of 2. So it's really okay if you're not able to finish all of the activities in the time allotted. The important thing is that you're practicing the language, that you're practicing the vocabulary, and that you're using this as another learning experience. So you really can't learn the language unless you are practicing it. So pay attention to that. Also, really work on your pronunciation, because I'm hearing in a lot of the Zoom chats that like made up words, I don't know what, like you're reading stuff, but reading over it really quickly. So if you have to, slow down, because the rules of pronunciation in Spanish are pretty cut and dry. So unlike in English where you have one spelling and you might pronounce it differently, it's not like that in Spanish. So, make sure that you're pronouncing those words. Watch out for things like G's in Spanish. So like a G-A is like a ga, gato, guante, gota. So G-A's, G-U's, and G-O's sound like a regular G, but G-E's and G-I's sound like an H. So gente, gira, Gerardo, see? So words like that. So just be careful with those because I'm hearing things like siguiente or enseguida should be a g sound, but I'm hearing like enseguida and things like that. So really try to take your time with the pronunciation of some of these things. And yeah, like in these questions right here, the entrevista. So, la última vez que hiciste un viaje, ¿a dónde fuiste? ¿Con quién viajaste? And sometimes I'm hearing things like viajaste or I don't know. So really try to focus on that. ¿Por cuánto tiempo se quedaron ustedes allí? ¿Qué hicieron? ¿Dónde comieran? ¿Tenías reservaciones del hotel cuando saliste? Viajaste en avión, en tren, en coche, o en autobús. So if you have to, slow down, but really try to say the words out. If you're ever working on the assignments and you're having trouble, remember that if it's a vocabulary word, in the book, you have the access to hear what the pronunciation is. In the v-text, you can click on the word and it's going to tell you what the pronunciation is. Another tool that I like to use for words like that is if you go to forvo.com, you can search for a word. So you could say like seguida, and we can put that in, and they're going to tell you in Spanish, and we can listen to the pronunciation. So I don't know how much it's going to come across in my speakers if you're going to hear it loudly enough. So I don't know if it'll help if I turn it up a little bit or not. So I don't know if you can hear that one or not. And so that one was an enseguida, and this one's just seguida. And those are both kind of funny ones. But anyway, that is another tool. If you get to a word and you really have no idea how to pronounce it, do that. Also, try to get better at correcting each other, because there will be times where in a chat, I'll hear one person say the word correctly, and the very next person says the word incorrectly, and nobody corrects them. Or, they'll say, I don't know if this is how you say it, and then they'll say the word wrong, and nobody says anything to correct that person. So make sure that you're correcting each other so you know what's being said. So in this Zoom chat has a little bit of preterite and imperfect, since we just did preterite and we're doing imperfect, because we're going to start looking at comparing the differences between them. So de niño y ahora, tell if you used to do the following things on school days as a child, then tell if you did them yesterday. You're going to be asking each other questions using these prompts. So for example, my example is los dibujos animados, so cartoons. So you're first going to ask one of the other people in your chat group, when you were a child, did you watch, and I should have put the verb in there, did you watch cartoons? So cuando eras niño, mirabas los dibujos animados. And we're using mirabas because that is one of the uses of the imperfect, is talking about how things used to be. ¿Sí? So cuando eras niño, mirabas los dibujos animados. Then your partner can answer, or one of your chat mates can answer, sí, yo miraba los dibujos animados, or no miraba los dibujos animados. So the first question, you're using the imperfect tense. You're asking, did you used to do this as a child? And make sure that you're paying attention to whether the person that you're talking to is a niño or a niña. The second question that you're going to ask, using the same verb phrase, is if they did this thing yesterday. So, miraste los dibujos animados ayer. So, did you watch cartoons yesterday? And we're using preterite because preterite focuses on more of a completed action, something that happened one time, or you know exactly how many times it happened. So that's one of the things that we're going to start focusing on this week, is comparing and contrasting the use of the preterite and the imperfect. So with all of these phrases here, that's what you're going to do. The first question that you're asking to one of your partners is, did you used to do this as a child? And the second question is, did you do this yesterday? Okay. The second one, entrevista, is just that. You've got these interviewing questions, and we've done this before where you're asking your partner something, but part of what you need to do is pay attention to whether the question is in the preterite or whether it's in the imperfect. And if a question is in the preterite, you're going to answer it in the preterite. Okay, so just like with these, if your partner asks you, cuando eras niño, mirabas los dibujos animados, the question is in the imperfect, I'm going to use the imperfect in my answer. It's the same way here. La última vez que hiciste un viaje, the last time that you took a trip, ¿A dónde fuiste? Where did you go? It's using preterite, so I'm going to use preterite in my answer. Yo fui la última vez que hice un viaje. Yo fui, ¿dónde fui? Yo fui a Washington, D.C. ¿Sí? ¿Con quién viajaste? Pues yo viajé con mi familia, con mi esposo y mis hijas. ¿Por cuánto tiempo se quedaron ustedes allí? How long did you stay there? Nos quedamos allí 3 o 4 días, ¿sí? Y después fuimos a Virginia, West Virginia, ¿sí? ¿Qué hicieron? What did you do? So most of these questions are in the preterite because we're saying, what did you do? Where did you go? But then this one, ¿tenías reservaciones? Did you have reservations? That's an imperfect. So in your answer, you need to use imperfect for this one. ¿Sí? ¿Estabas cansado cuando llegaste? Were you tired when you arrived? We have an imperfect and we have a preterite. So if you want to say, yes, I was tired when I arrived, yo estaba cansada. Sí, yo estaba cansada cuando llegué. ¿Sí? So you're going to go through and ask these questions. And then the last part is a ti te toca, which means it's your turn. So usando el pretérito y el imperfecto, hazles preguntas a tus compañeros acerca de la última fiesta que asistieron. So you're going to ask each other about the last party you went to. So for this one, it's similar to the entrevista questions here, but I didn't give you the questions. So I want you to have to come up with some questions. What are some questions that you would ask somebody about a party that they went to? Oh, and one more thing about the Zoom chats. Please, it's a good idea I want you to look over the questions ahead of time, but I don't want you to prepare your answers. Sometimes it sounds like, I'm pretty sure, that people have looked at the questions and like typed out their answers, and it kind of ruins part of the point of the activity, because you're not going to get an opportunity. If you go to Mexico, for example, somebody is not going to ask you a question and you're going to say, un momento, por favor, write down your answer and then read them back your answer. So that would be a really kind of an artificial situation. So don't make your Zoom chats an artificial situation too. I want you to look at it ahead of time so you know what kind of things you have to answer, so that it's not totally, you're not totally unprepared. But I also don't want you to write down all of your answers so that you're just reading a pre-prepared paragraph. So that really kind of ruins some of the spontaneity of the questions and answers. Same thing with this. I would really prefer, it's okay that you look at it and maybe think about, okay, well, what are some questions that I would ask about a party? But don't necessarily write all of them out ahead of time, because there needs to be some of that where you're having to come up with questions on your own. So anyway, that's a little bit about this coming chapter, and I guess I'll see you later. Hasta luego.